The WNBA just hit rock bottom and nobody wants to admit it. $10 finals tickets. Let me say that again. $10 to watch what's supposed to be the pinnacle of women's basketball. That's less than a movie ticket, less than a fast food meal. Hell, that's less than what most people spend on coffee in the morning. But here's where it gets absolutely insane. While the league is practically begging people to show up, Diana Taurasi and the Phoenix Mercury are busy blaming Caitlin Clark fans for their problems. Yeah, you heard that right. The same Caitlin Clark who single-handedly saved this league from complete irrelevance is now being scapegoated for its failures. Let me paint you a picture of just how bad this has gotten. Game 3 of the 2025 WNBA Finals between the Las Vegas Aces and Phoenix Mercury. Empty seats everywhere. The arena looked like a ghost town. Courtside seats that were going for $2,000 when Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever were playing. Now you can grab them for under $500. The section behind the basket, $300. Upper deck? They're practically giving them away. This isn't just embarrassing, it's a complete disaster for a league that spent all season bragging about record-breaking growth. But wait, it gets worse. Diana Taurasi, the supposed face of the league for 2 decades, decided to go on a rant after the game. Instead of addressing why nobody wants to watch her team play, she blamed quote-unquote toxic Caitlin Clark fans for ruining the sport. The irony is so thick you could cut it with a knife. Here's a player whose team can't fill an arena even with $10 tickets, complaining about the only fan base that actually shows up. Make sure to hit that like button if you think the WNBA needs to wake up and smell the coffee about what's really happening here. What happened next would shock everyone who's been following this league. The Phoenix Mercury organization doubled down on Taurasi's comments. They released a statement claiming that the new fans brought in by Caitlin Clark weren't real basketball fans. Think about that for a second. A professional sports league is literally insulting the people who saved them from bankruptcy. These are the same fans who bought merchandise, subscribed to League Pass, and filled arenas in cities that hadn't seen a sellout in years. But apparently, they're not good enough for the old guard. The numbers tell a story that the WNBA desperately wants to ignore. When Caitlin Clark was healthy and playing earlier this season, every single game was an event. Indiana Fever games were selling out in minutes. Resale tickets were going for 5 times face value. Cities that never cared about women's basketball suddenly had lines around the block. Fast forward to January 2025 with Clark sidelined due to injury, and the finals can't even sell out at bargain basement prices. The correlation is so obvious, it's painful. But that wasn't the whole story. Sources inside the league are now revealing that Commissioner Cathy Engelbert knew this was coming. Internal emails leaked just yesterday show that the WNBA was already slashing ticket prices before the finals even started. They knew without Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, or any of the new generation stars, this finals matchup would be a ratings disaster. Yet they still went ahead with their anti-Clark narrative. Still let veterans like Taurasi trash the new fans. Still refused to protect their biggest asset when she was getting roughed up all season. Here's something nobody's talking about. Sophie Cunningham, who joined the Indiana Fever this season, has been quietly calling out the hypocrisy behind closed doors. She's seen both sides now, playing for Phoenix before and now with Indiana. According to team insiders, Cunningham has been vocal about how differently the league treats its established stars versus the new generation. She watched Caitlin Clark get absolutely hammered game after game with no calls, while veterans got every whistle. She saw how the marketing department ignored Clark's historic rookie season while pushing narratives about players nobody outside hardcore fans even knows. The financial implications are staggering. The WNBA Players Association is about to enter critical negotiations for a new collective bargaining agreement. They want higher salaries, better travel conditions, more revenue sharing, all reasonable demands for professional athletes. But how do you negotiate from a position of strength when your championship series is being outsold by local high school games? How do you demand more money when $10 tickets still leave empty seats? The owners are going to use this finals disaster as Exhibit A for why they can't afford to pay players more. What's even more shocking is what's happening with the broadcasts. ESPN, who paid millions for WNBA rights, is reportedly furious about the ratings. Game 1 of the finals pulled in less viewers than a random regular season game featuring Caitlin Clark. Game 2 was even worse. Industry insiders are saying ESPN executives are already discussing whether to reduce WNBA coverage next season if Clark isn't playing. That's how dependent this entire league has become on one 22-year-old from Iowa. But here's where it gets really interesting. The conspiracy theories are starting to make sense. Remember how Caitlin Clark's injury happened right before the playoffs? Remember how she was getting absolutely destroyed by opposing players all season with minimal protection from refs? Remember how the league seemed almost happy when she got hurt, like they could finally go back to business as usual? Well, now we're seeing what business as usual looks like. Empty arenas, bargain bin ticket prices, and a final series that nobody outside of Vegas and Phoenix even knows is happening. The merchandise numbers are equally damning. Caitlin Clark jerseys are still outselling every other player combined, even though she hasn't played in weeks. Sophie Cunningham jerseys are flying off the shelves in Indiana. Meanwhile, Diana Taurasi Mercury jerseys are sitting in warehouses collecting dust. Nike is reportedly reconsidering their WNBA investment after seeing these finals numbers. When your biggest corporate partner starts having second thoughts, you know you've got a massive problem. What happened next would expose the entire facade. A group of Indiana Fever fans organized a boycott of the finals specifically because of how Caitlin Clark was treated all season. They called it the Clark Out movement. Thousands of fans who would normally watch the finals on TV simply refused to tune in. They're sending a message that if the league won't protect and promote its biggest star, they won't support the product. The boycott has been so effective that advertisers are reportedly demanding make goods from ESPN because viewership is way below projections. The veterans' jealousy has reached pathological levels. Diana Taurasi, earning over $200,000 a year for 2 decades, can't handle that a rookie brought more attention to the sport in one season than she did in her entire career. The Mercury's Brittany Griner, who the league bent over backwards to support during her situation in Russia, has been openly dismissive of the new fans. These players would rather rule over an empty kingdom than share the spotlight in a thriving league. Here's a stat that will blow your mind. The Indiana Fever's final regular season home game with an injured Caitlin Clark watching from the bench still drew more fans than Game 3 of the finals in Phoenix. Think about that. People would rather watch Caitlin Clark not play than watch the supposed 2 best teams compete for a championship. That's not just preference, that's a complete rejection of what the WNBA is trying to sell without its new stars. But that wasn't even the most embarrassing part. The Phoenix Mercury tried to paper the house for Game 4, literally giving away thousands of free tickets to local schools and organizations. Even then, the arena was maybe 70% full. When you can't even give away tickets to your championship series, you don't have a product problem, you have an existential crisis. The international implications are devastating too. The WNBA has been trying to expand globally, talking about games in Europe, partnerships in Asia. But international partners are watching this finals disaster and reconsidering everything. Why would they invest in a league that can't even sell out its championship in its home country? The Clark effect was opening doors worldwide. Now those doors are slamming shut faster than you can say $10 tickets. What's really revealing is the social media engagement. Posts about Caitlin Clark's injury recovery get millions of views. Videos of Sophie Cunningham's practice sessions with the Fever go viral. Meanwhile, official WNBA Finals content struggles to break 6 figures. The league's own social media team has reportedly been told to start including more Clark content even though she's not playing, just to boost engagement. That's how desperate they've become. The Players' Union is in full panic mode. They know that without the Clark-brought audience, they have zero leverage. Several players have privately admitted they made a huge mistake not embracing the new fans from day one. They let jealousy and ego destroy what could have been the league's breakthrough moment. Now they're staring at potentially years of stagnation because they couldn't handle one rookie getting more attention. Here's something that just broke yesterday. Multiple WNBA owners held an emergency conference call to discuss the finals disaster. According to sources on the call, there was serious discussion about forcing Cathy Engelbert to resign. The owners are furious that the league fumbled its best opportunity for growth in 25 years. They're especially angry about the treatment of Caitlin Clark, not because they care about fairness, but because they care about money. And Clark equals money in a way no other player ever has. The Las Vegas Aces, who are likely to win this ghost town championship, can't even celebrate properly. They know their title will always have an asterisk. Not officially, but in the minds of fans. They won when nobody was watching, when tickets cost less than a beer at the arena, when the best player in the league was sitting at home injured. That's not the legacy any athlete wants. What makes this even more insane is that the solution was so simple. Protect Caitlin Clark. Promote Caitlin Clark. Build around Caitlin Clark and the new generation. Instead, the league chose to protect the feelings of aging veterans who brought nothing but empty arenas for 2 decades. They chose personality over prosperity, ego over economics, the past over the future. The sponsorship deals are already drying up. Companies that rushed to associate with the WNBA during the Clark surge are quietly pulling back. They're not making big announcements, but marketing budgets are being redirected. The authentic fan engagement they thought they were buying turned out to be completely dependent on one player the league refused to protect. Comment below if you think the WNBA can survive without Caitlin Clark, or if this finals disaster proves they need to completely change their approach. Because right now, it's looking like the league just committed athletic suicide by alienating its meal ticket. The 2025 WNBA Finals will go down in history, but not for the reasons anyone hoped. It'll be remembered as the moment the league's arrogance finally caught up with reality. $10 tickets that still won't sell, empty seats in a championship series, veterans blaming fans for their own irrelevance, a commissioner in denial, and a generational talent sitting at home injured while the league she saved burns itself to the ground. The most tragic part? This was completely avoidable. Every wrong decision, every missed opportunity, every jealous veteran taking a cheap shot at Clark, it all led to this moment. The WNBA had lightning in a bottle with Caitlin Clark, and they didn't just drop it, they threw it against the wall and then complained about the mess. Now they're trying to clean up with $10 tickets and nobody's buying. The revolution that Caitlin Clark started isn't over. But the old guard better realize quickly that without her and fans like hers, there won't be a league left to fight over.